everyone. Welcome back to Pele Yoetz. We've been kind of on a hiatus. I was finishing up Adoring with Dignity, and thank God, with his help, we were able to finish it. It was amazing sefer. And thank you for everyone for making that sefer and the mitzvah of learning about tznius as big as it is. And I encourage everyone to please share it with anyone that you know. It was just really great. A really great opportunity, and I'm so glad to be back in Pele Yoetz. We've taught already in this sefer that whenever you're reading the work of any sage, anyone, the Ramban, whoever it is that you're reading, that sage becomes an advocate for you in Shemaim. And I want to thank Hashem because Rabbi Papo, Alav Shalom, who's also known as the Pele Yoetz, ironically, even before I was studying the sefer, I almost felt that he was already coming to present the opportunity to teach me and to give me advice. And I'm so glad that I accepted that help. He has been a tremendous help. His words have been a tremendous help, a tremendous hizuk for me during the beginning phase of my son going into the military. One of the hardest phases. And he continues to give me words of encouragement today. And I pray with Hashem's help that not only will I continue to learn, that Hashem would illuminate them for myself, and also that he would give me the words to give over to all of you, because they're tremendous words, and I feel so inadequate to give them over. But I hope with Hashem's help that whatever basic level they come to you, that they come in such a way that they really have the profound impact to make that change in your life, to start going on the Derek Eretz and the Derek Emet, that you really go into the way of truth and that you know how to do it. And today we're talking about daughter, and the Rav has a lot more to say about the subject of daughters than he does with the son. Very interesting, some of the words he's going to say. And again, it's so ironic that he's taking these words that were written so long ago, but again, we do see them playing out even now. It's so, it always amazes me how timeless some of these works are. It really, they had to have been given some kind of divine assistance, because they're just so timeless. These words are just so timeless. And, there's that expression, hot off the presses, and this almost feels like he just wrote the book last week, because a lot of things he says just really you see them playing out today. But let's see what he has to talk about daughters on this subject. And he says, I've seen a most repulsive custom in some places, that when a daughter is born, people make fun of and ridicule the event. And one person says the cold is immense, and another person says the smell is odious. These and other words of mockery are contrived, such that someone whose wife gives birth to a girl cannot find a place to hide from the pursuit of words of mirth and derision. This practice is disgusting to me, and I invoke the verse in Mishlei 17:5. One who ridicules the poor has blasphemed his Creator upon them, for this is from the hidden matters of God, the Omniscient One, and that he gives sons to whom he wants, and he grants daughters to whom he wishes. Consequently, one who scoffs at the birth of a daughter is demeaning God. In addition to committing the terrible offense of mockery, there is even a greater folly among some ignoramuses, that if one's wife gives birth to a son, he loves her and honors her greatly. However, if she gives birth to a girl, he alienates her and abandons her. How great is her loneliness and grief! How foolish are these people! What does he want from his wife? Did she go to the marketplace and choose to buy him a daughter and not a son? Furthermore, what business does he have with the hidden matters of God? Perhaps daughters will be better for him than sons, inasmuch as their fortune and portion will be good. We have seen fathers who rejoice for their daughters together with their sons, and whose daughters' fortune in life was better than their brothers. Woe unto the man whose sons are like daughters, and even worse than daughters, when they are many. For great is the number of ignoramuses, and men of brilliance are few. So many are the pains of the father of sons in regard to the Torah learning and service of God. This is not so for the father of daughters, who only has the responsibility to teach them an occupation and good character. So very true, right? Because sons, there is all these other moving parts that you have that they have so many more mitzvot that they have to do. Whereas when with women, when, first of all, the tremendous job, I agree with the Rav, that any person who makes fun of the fact that a family has had, like, let's just say they're starting out and they've only produced girls. First of all, that it's very true. That is Hashem's business. Hashem is the one who gives, who he gives. He sends the neshama and says, this one goes here and this one was born there. So, first of all, so that's one, okay? We need to keep in perspective that we are seeing and playing out a little part of a full tapestry in which Hashem knows all of this from the beginning of time. So it really does not make any sense to, mock someone because of the fact that they've only had girls or that they've had a girl. The other thing is that being that women, again, if you go through Adorned with Dignity, you realize the importance of the role of the woman. So you really, I think every family should be blessed with at least one daughter. And if you can teach her that which the Rav is saying, that of an occupation of good character, meaning tznius, because tznius is not just about the way you're dressing, but also the way you're behaving. So if she can get that down, if you can successfully teach your daughter this character trait already, if you're thinking about it as the scales in Shemaim, once she's learned that one thing, she's already tipped the scale over to her favor, and to the side of good. So, in addition to that, moreover, she becomes the vessel to hold the blessing, and she becomes that pipeline to bring down Hashem's presence. So it is amazing that, for all this Torah learning, quote unquote, that sometimes it all gets lost in the mix, how you cannot see a daughter as a great thing. A daughter is a great thing. And you really should, it should be something to be celebrated. It's a very great thing. Every child that comes to you should be celebrated. Not just the daughter, not just the son. But every child that you get really is a gift from Hashem. But we're going to continue on. It says, the father has a mitzvah to marry off his daughter when she becomes of age, in accordance with the saying of our sages in Pesachim 113a. When a man's daughter becomes of age, he should be willing to free his servant and give her to him. Her father and mother must be vigilant with 7 eyes that she should not compromise her honor, because it is her father that she disgraces in Vayikra 21:9. It is a mitzvah to heed the words of the sages and to marry her off as soon as she's able. It is also a mitzvah for the father to increase her dowry according with his means in order to attract her an appropriate match. The saying of our sages is well known in Pesachim 49a, that a man should sell all that he has in order to marry off his daughter to a Torah scholar. So, very true. I think maybe years ago, I probably would have had like a little gyration in my neshama over this statement. But now having older sons, and also seeing what's going on in the world, you could see why they would say this. And again, there's nothing new under the sun. I think for many years, it's funny because it's like the analogous of women being like cats. A lot of times I think there was a lot of things that perhaps many girls have done probably in secret. And now there's even a more disgusting custom where a lot of things they're doing will come out. It comes out now. And I think, it almost seems like no one bats an eyelash to it. But I think it is good. In my personal opinion, I have to say I agree with the Rav. I think it is good for a woman to be married as soon as possible. And this really does help to keep her on the derek emet as well. Because once she becomes of a certain age, there is all this prying eyes. The Rav's talking about that you have to watch your daughter with 7 eyes. That's because that's how many of the guys are looking at your daughter. So it's very good. It is good to marry her off. And this way, there's a much less chance, especially in this day and age, of, I'll date this one, I'll date that one, I'll date this one. And then, certain things go too far. And then once you've gone too far, it's just like the Rav said, at that point, you bring shame onto the father. And again, when I was growing up, You know, your good name, your daughter, her behavior really reflected on your name. So again, a lot of that is changing and not for the good. But I think that when we stick to what's been tried and tested, time and time and again, that we can't go wrong for following this path, because it is the path of truth. And better to, give your daughter to a Torah scholar and a true Torah scholar who really does, not just one that sits and learns, but also the one that sits, learns, and does what he learns. Because in this way, your daughter will be guaranteed to have a much more successful life and bring children much more happiness in the home. Because we've already learned from the Rav as well, the pains that a person has when they fall into the hands of a Rasha. So it says, there are many poor people whose ardent desire is to wed their daughter to a Torah scholar, but cannot do so due to their financial disability. Nevertheless, they still have the responsibility to do everything within their power and to jump over mountains to raise sufficient funds in order to marry her off to a Torah scholar. If they are not fiscally capable, or there's no sage eligible in their vicinity, nonetheless, they should choose a fine young man who knows how to learn and is God-fearing. He should not give his daughter to an ignoramus and a man of misdeed, for it is like throwing his daughter to the dogs, and she will harbor a complaint against him all the days of her life, for he has tainted her. One who taints his own flesh is cruel. Mishlei 11:17. Our sages said in Yevamot 63a, be deliberate when you marry. Likewise, a father must be deliberate before he offers his daughter to a man in marriage, and he must thoroughly investigate his past until he clearly knows his nature and is satisfied that he is a good person. Then he should give his daughter to him. In truth, a good wife is a gift from God, because he is the one who makes matches and brings separate people together in one house. Nevertheless, a reconciliation has already been suggested in the entry of Zivug, and we'll be getting to that. So it's true. We see this playing out a lot, especially I'm sure there are plenty of women who have been in bad marriages, whether they chose them for themselves, which sometimes you could see why. There is a great thing about having your father protect you, right? But not all of us have that luxury either, but we can all attest, anyone who has been giving into a bad relationship, that you are tainted in a way. There's some things that once you've gone through certain experiences, you cannot unlearn them, and they do taint you. They do have this ability to create a very harmful damage within your psyche, which affects your behavior. And again, there used to be this saying when I was young: once a good girl goes bad, she's gone forever. Which I don't know that I fully, I can't fully get behind that full statement, because I think there is a way to get back. But the point is that it's very difficult to get back, and that I do stand by. It's very difficult, especially in this day and age. Once a woman has passed the Rubicon, very difficult for her to come back. Once she's jaded for a very long time. And there has to be this desire, really, that has to come from Hashem at that point. She has to want it, and Hashem, will help her in whatever way she wants to go. But it's very hard to get back once you've passed the Rubicon of bad experiences. And it states, therefore, it is the obligation of every man to have mercy on his own soul and the soul of his daughter, to aggressively strive to find her a fitting match that will be good for her and her father in this world and in the next. A man should pour out his soul before God, entreating him to provide a worthy spouse for his sons and daughters. I've already composed a prayer for this in Beit Tefilati. The daughter herself, if she's known to write or to read from a script, should have her father go to a sage who will compose a prayer for her. In this too, I will try my hand. And it says she should also cry in seclusion, fast, and pour her soul before God with words that emanate from the heart, as her mouth may utter. She should pray to God that he arrange for her a match with a Torah scholar, that to be given into safekeeping of a God-fearing man, and that their union should be successful. Great is a prayer in this regard. This can be learned from our matriarch Leah, who was intended for Esav. By virtue of a tremendous crime which caused her eyes to become tender, her lot fell to Yaakov. in Bava Kama 123a, and she merited to bring into being 6 tribes from which emerged the grandeur of Israel, the dynasties, the priesthood, the Levites, and the monarchy. So, ladies, if you're looking for a zivug, you have to, crying once in a while is not enough. You really have to storm the heavens. Like, I'm going to use this story of a recent convert who, when we heard her story, she had said how she kept pestering the rabbi for a year, despite the fact that the country she lives in, there was an armed guard guarding the shul, and she persistently, went up against this guard, and finally she had enough, and she said, "I'm not leaving until the rabbi sees me." This is the same way. There's always like these melachim they're like they're guards, they're armed guards. And we have to be so insistent that we're storming the throne room of Shemaim, and we're not leaving until Hashem comes and answers us. We're not leaving. And that's the persistence we have to have, not just with this, but with everything. And it does really work, but it has to be that kind of conviction. I'm not leaving. I will wait, and I will wait, and I'm going to be here, and you're going to come and you're going to see me, and I'm going to still be here. I'm not leaving. Hashem has to answer me. And he does, and he comes and he answers. So that's what he's, waiting for us. So, get out there, girls, like go storm the Shemaim. So it says the daughter who will be praised will not focus upon her wealth. Rather, she will be prepared to live with hunger, thirst, scarcely clad, and deprived, just so that her portion should be with a Torah scholar and God-fearing man. Therefore, she must prepare herself for this as befitting the wife of a Torah scholar. Her eyes should be ennobling, and she should not make an issue regarding pleasurable food, jewelry, and fancy clothes. She should accustom herself to less sleep and less conversation, to diligence and to alacrity, and other good personality traits. So this is very true, right? A lot of times I think that you see this much more in this day and age than probably ever before. And we talked about this, I think we talked about this in Behind the Curtain. And this was opening up about a very big secret about when Adam said about Chava, when Hashem asked, about this whole, what was going down in the Gan Eden, and he said, Haisha, and that word, that hey in the front comes to connote this materialistic, this materialistic attribute and this trait. And when the hey is in the front, it's really highlighting all of the earthly pleasures, whereas if the hey is in the end, it really does highlight more of the spirituality. And we see that when a woman is looking for a match based upon, like we say, it looks good on paper, that you better believe 9 times out of 10 that marriage is doomed. It's doomed, and there's not going to be nothing but hardship. That's just the way it's going to be. Very difficult when you're leading with materialistic over the spiritual. Nothing good is going to happen from that. Moreover, let's say you were in that 10%. What did you really gain? Because in the end, the husband, he makes up a big portion of your olam haba. His study makes up your portion of olam haba. So if he's not building anything, what good is it for him to build you a house in this world if you have no house in the world to come? So really, it's all great. It all seems like I'll be the one to change him. You're not going to be the one to change him, Habibi. You're not. That's just the way it is. So, all those dreams of grandeur that you'll be the one that can make him over, and you'll make him, you have a very hard road up in front of you. So it says, consequently, God will give her that which is good unto her. Granted that our sages said in Ketuvot 52b, father is obligated to adorn his daughter so that many people will pursue her. However, a daughter who is God-fearing will not display herself before young men, especially when she is all dressed up, lest they suffer from improper thoughts due to her, especially in this generation where there are so many immoral men. And just think, he was writing this a few hundred years ago. So imagine that today. I think a lot of times, even when, again, this desensitization, when we become desensitized to a lot of things that are going around us, that could even happen with girls. Sometimes, they want to be grown up far sooner than their time. And by the time they get serious and want to settle down, it's almost like they've been played out. They're old news at this point. And so this happens a lot. The more that you're seen, the more the guys, your potential suitors, are just desensitized to you. So keep that in mind. It's not always a great thing to be out there, to be the it girl. Do you know any it girl? Like, let's just talk pop culture for a second. Do you know any quote unquote it girl who really has it all? No. You see her, they have what looks like a great marriage, and like 4 years later, they're getting divorced. They've gone through a slew of men. Everyone's it's kind of like that Marilyn Monroe situation, right? Like, she was like the most wanted girl in her time. So beautiful. Everyone desired her. Every man wanted her. Everyone wanted to be her. And in the end, when you pull back the curtain of her life, she really was somebody who just, you hate to speak this way, but almost seemed like she was tossed around from one man to another to have his way with her and toss her up when she was done. And for someone who you think, portrayed all this power over men, really, she was nothing more than an object to them. They never really, I think there was like one guy, which was, I think his name was like Joe DiMaggio. I think he was like the baseball player. Like, he was the only one who really wanted to be with her, and she didn't want to be with him because she wanted to be with bigger and better in her eyes. And in the end, that was not what was good for her, and it ended up costing her life. This is really a cautionary tale that keeps playing out, but for whatever reason, we still keep wanting to buy into this illusion that somehow this is the way to go and this is the way to be. So it says, our sage already remarked in Sotah 22a, we learned the truth of the meaning of fear of sin from a young girl. And Rabbi Yochanan overheard a young girl who was praying, Master of the universe, you created Gan Eden, you created Gehinom, you created righteous individuals, and you created wicked people. Yehirat Son Hashem, my Lord and the Lord of my fathers, that no man may stumble because of my sin. And again, I've heard this before, and this is a tremendous statement. If you want to know God-fearing, that's the statement right there, that no man should stumble because of me. I mean, that's like the epitome of tznius right there. So, I mean, this was her concern. And she fell on her face to have this prayer said before Hashem. It says, in this fashion, all young girls should conduct themselves with the utmost modesty, for all the honor of the king's daughter is within. And that's brought down from Tehillim 45:14. And she should not appear outside. In the Arab countries, the girls are somewhat careful in this regard. However, in the Christian countries, the majority is not. Such is the non-Jewish convention, the minhag in these lands. The letters of the word minhag are the same as in Hebrew and as Gehinom, meaning hell. So a woman who fears God will be praised and will not go after the majority in evil matters. Her reward will be exceedingly multiplied. In the Sefer Hasidim, section 385, wrote that one young woman did not get dressed up at all in order that anyone who saw her would not commit a sin, and she married to have a proper, wise, and pious husband. So, again, until it was her time, this is, she really didn't go out like, she went out like a shumpet because she didn't go out dressed to kill. And she married to have a very great husband. Because she really was concerned. This is what we're talking about. Again, very hard. It almost seems unfathomable in this day and age, because we don't think this way anymore. We don't think this way. We become so desensitized, and we're so caught up in being Haisha, that materialistic woman, instead of that spiritual woman, Isha. So, again, very lofty concepts to think of. I pray that we will get to that level. And it says, God has a quarrel with the wealthy men of the nation who possess a tremendous fortune and seek to wed their daughters with young men of comparable social financial status. They open their hands to provide a dowry with thousands upon thousands of gold coins in order to marry off their daughters to young men who are vessels of empty Torah and the fear of God. Would that the wealthy men be wise? They would understand that even if they bestowed wealth, riches reach to heaven. If their wealth reached the heavens, the bodies of their son-in-laws are not made of money, and it may very well descend into the abyss. Before your eyes glance upon it, and this is referring to money, it is gone, as it says in Mishlei 23:5. Our eyes have seen many individuals who at the time of marriage were fabulously wealthy and lost it all and became people who wandered in search of bread. Even when they were wealthy, their wives endured lives of pain due to their husbands, their absence, as they were traveling on the roads, ocean, and rivers. He's always busy with his work and his business accounts. One who increases wealth increases anxiety, as said in Avot 2:7. There are people who rise early to the work and stay up late at night and still eat the bread of sorrow. See Tehillim 127:2. Due to his preoccupation and frustration, he increases gratuitous controversy with his wife. Very true statement. You know, sometimes I think, we really have, there's this saying, money doesn't grow on trees, but I think somehow we think that it does, like it just magically appears. And the truth is, trying to keep up with wealth is a very, very hard job. It's a very hard job. Often requires that there'll be long hours, whether at the office or traveling somewhere else to make that business done. But this is also an illusion. It's that illusion. Can you imagine? There used to be these PSAs, these public service announcements about the dangers of doing drugs. The thing is, you see a movie and they always show you like this glamorous nightclub scene where everybody's like getting high on drugs and all these mind altering things, and they make it look glamorous. But can you imagine if they showed you the reality of that, like fast forward like a year later when the person is strung out, they look horrendous. It's not a cute look. I think if we saw that, like no one would ever want to go into it. It's the same thing with this, right? It all looks so good and so glamorous when she's like at the Chanel counter and she's buying her new bag. When she goes home and she doesn't tell you that she's buying these things because she's so empty and she's extremely lonely. She has all these things and nowhere to go. And the only where she's going is out to make more trouble with the neighbors or whoever it is, to get involved in Lashon Hara, whatever it is. And what does she acquire really? Acquiring fake friends who smile in your face while wishing you really bad. Not happy at all for anything that you have because they're wanting it themselves out of their own envy and jealousy. What true friend do you really have? You can't tell your secrets to anyone because they're just going to use that against you. Because secretly they're very happy that you're that miserable. I mean, is it really that great? Is it all that great and glamorous of a life? I mean, let's be real. It's not. I mean, it really isn't. And it continues on. It says, if she is God-fearing, she is even more grieved by seeing her husband void of the fear of God, careless in performance of mitzvot, as is the custom of many common people. In conclusion, all her days are grief. This is not so for one who gives his daughter to a Torah scholar. How good is her portion, how pleasant is her lot, as well as his portion and his lot in this world and in the world to come. All the days of her life are filled with satisfaction, and she finds honor, and she's lacking nothing. If only the thoughts of the fathers and daughters were about the great satisfaction and good that the wife of a Torah scholar and her father have in this world and the next, they would sacrifice much of themselves and their wealth for this purpose. Even if she is supported by charity, it will not be a disgrace. For the greatest honor is the canopy that will be made for her in the righteous, in Olam Haba, especially since instead of squandering the money to increase her dowry to secure someone of her socioeconomic status, that could use the money to provide for a Torah scholar so that they might learn Torah and serve God with genuine sense of security. The statement of our sages in Berachot 34b, all of the prophets did not prophesy, but for someone who marries off his daughter to a Torah scholar, where he supports those who study Torah, is well known. And the truth is that this is a mutual relationship. The Torah scholar also does not want to marry the daughter of a wealthy man, for he wishes to fulfill the maxim of our sages who said in Yevamot 63a, do not wed a woman who is from a higher status, lest you be rejected by her. As well, he desires to satisfy the dictum of Pesachim 49a. A man should sell all that he has in order to marry a daughter of a Torah scholar. Whoever marries a man must investigate the character of her brothers, for the majority of the children are similar in nature to the brothers of the mother in Bava Batra 110a. So very true, right? I think it is. I think it could be a red flag for many Torah scholars. Because what if the wife, a lot of times if they've grown up in this lap of luxury, like they say, that there is a chance that they could grow to resent the husband because he's not providing the same, means she's grown accustomed to. Can you imagine, going from Chanel to now you'll be lucky if you'll get a purse from Target? I mean, could be a very devastating thing for someone. This is why a woman really has to work on, just detaching herself from that materialistic thing. You have to decide what you want, but you're not going to have them both. It's very difficult. You can have one or the other. You want a good life, good husband, who knows Derek Eretz, who knows the way of Torah. You want a bigger house in Olam Haba forever. Then the path is clear for you. So we're going to be wrapping up, and it says, if a wealthy man gives all the fortune of his home to a Torah scholar because of the love that he has for Kadosh Baruch Hu, and to fulfill the words of the sages, he will surely scorn him. See Shir Hasharim 8:7. Nevertheless, the Sefer Hasidim section 381 already wrote that if a Torah scholar is sorely impoverished and he sees that the wealthy man and his daughter genuinely aspires to Torah, and he increases her dowry in order that the scholar should be able to learn Torah and serve Hashem with peace of mind, then if he marries her, he will not suffer any loss. God will not withhold any good from him, including the holy children. If he marries a woman for the sake of Shemayim, and I will write more about this in Entry Zivug. This is the proper relationship between a father and daughter, and a wise man will listen and understand more of his own intellect. So that's the flip side. And let's say, again, we just talked about if a girl who really wants to go in the ways of Torah, and her father is really rich. She comes from a very privileged family. If she has already made that decision that this is what she wants, the way of Torah, then this is a blessing for the Torah scholar to marry her. And great investment for the father to invest in having him to continue to study on. Great investment. That he should provide that money in order that they would be able to live okay. Perhaps they're not in the lap of luxury, but they're living okay. And she's okay with knowing, a lot of times I think that, especially when we're starting out in our careers, we're so willing to sacrifice everything because we have this goal in our mind. And when the wife is all about that goal, how much more peace it is. You guys are working, however, the goal is not a good goal. I think it's the same here. Some people can understand. They don't give you a hard time. For whatever reason, if a wife says, this is our goal, we want to build Olam Haba, people often scoff and snicker at that. And I think really that's more of a commendable goal. Anyone who's sacrificing to get that goal. And I think anyone that can support that goal, you're making a good investment. And whatever they're learning, it also goes to your credit because it couldn't have been possible without your help. So again, a lot to be said about the subject of daughters. We as women, we have big responsibilities. We are daughters of a king already. And our father, the king, he is it. He is our father. he's also concerned about the match that we're making. And I think this is great advice. If you've not become married yet, if you are the wife of a daughter who is at marriage age, keep all these things in mind, that you can counsel your husband in a way that brings about a good end for your daughter, both in this world and in the world to come. Great investment opportunity. But again, the hardest thing, I think the biggest job that you have is teaching her that good character trait. And if you're already at a point where you yourself are already of a certain age, you're already at age to marry, you're a little bit older, you're not quite a girl, work on yourself. Really think about what it is that you really want, and don't be fooled by all of this we say in Spanish, lujos, luxuries. Don't get fooled by all these things. It is just like the PSA of the people doing drugs. It always leads to a bad end. Nobody just wants to say that in the beginning. Really, all things to consider. Very serious subject. But what a beautiful. I'm very privileged to be a woman. And to be a daughter of Hashem even more so. And so I really hope that he helps all of his daughters to know who they are, to help, that Hashem would help all of his sons to know the value of their daughters, to know the value of their wives. And this way, really, that they can work together to bring about not only the bracha, but to hold it. But I'm going to hold the rest of my comments. That's it for today. And I hope we'll all be together again soon. Bezrat Hashem.